crazy sea stories.
Halloween, the Candy Run. Your costume looks stupid, Mike said, scratching his nose. The cheap plastic skeleton mask slipped sideways on his face. Jenny adjusted her witch hat. At least mine doesn't smell like last year's pizza. She kicked a pebble down the cracked sidewalk. Streetlights flickered overhead, casting long shadows across the overgrown lawns. Most houses sat dark tonight. Too dark. The air tasted like wet leaves and something sharper underneath. Chemical. Wrong. Mike stopped walking. Did you hear that? A low rustle came from Mrs. Henderson's hedge. Dry branches scraping together. Probably. Jenny shoved her hands deeper into her jacket pockets. Just keep moving. Only 3 blocks left. Mr. Peterson's porch light buzzed like an angry hornet as they passed. His usual Halloween display pumpkins. Fake cobwebs lay scattered and smashed. Orange pulp smeared the welcome mat. Jenny stepped over a broken plastic tombstone. Her breath hitched. Since when does old man Peterson leave his door wide open? The black rectangle of the doorway gaped at them. No sound came from inside. Mike's laugh sounded thin. Probably ran out of candy. But he didn't move closer to the Peterson house. The silence from that open door pressed against them, thick and sour like spoiled milk. Jenny's fingers brushed something sticky on her jeans' pumpkin guts, dark in the dim light. She wiped it furiously on the dead grass. A low scraping echoed from inside the house. Not branches this time, metal on wood. Slow. Deliberate. Jenny grabbed Mike's sleeve. We're leaving. Now, they turned, but the streetlights ahead flickered out one by one, plunging the block into near darkness. Only the buzzing porch light remained, throwing jagged shadows across the smashed pumpkins. The wet leaf smell vanished, replaced by that sharp chemical reek ammonia and burnt hair. From the hedge beside them, a dry rattle rose into a wet, gurgling cough. Jenny froze. The overgrown privet trembled. Something pale and segmented, like giant insect legs, unfolded from the darkness, scraping asphalt. Mike stumbled back, his skeleton mask slipping over his eyes. What the hell? He ripped it off just as the thing surged forward. Not insect legs. Fingers. Bone white and too long, tipped with cracked yellow nails. They snagged Mike's jacket. Jenny didn't think. She swung her plastic cauldron bucket hard. It connected with a sickening crunch against the wrist emerging from the hedge. A hiss tore through the air, raw and furious. The fingers recoiled, dripping black sludge. "Run!" Jenny screamed, already sprinting past the Peterson house toward the cross street. Mike scrambled after her, gasping. Behind them, the porch light bulb exploded in a shower of glass sparks. The open doorway seemed to pulse. They skidded around the corner onto Elm Street. Relief died in Jenny's throat. Every house stood utterly dark, windows like empty eye sockets. No glow from TVs, no flickering jack-o'-lanterns. Just the suffocating black and that stench, stronger here, clinging to the back of her tongue. A distant rhythmic thumping started, like a heavy sack being dragged. It came from everywhere and nowhere. Mike pressed against her, trembling. "They're not giving out candy tonight, Jenny," he whispered, staring at the unnatural dark. "They're the ones taking it." The dragging sound grew louder, wetter, closing in from the side yards. Something scraped against a chain-link fence nearby, slowly, patiently. Jenny spotted Mrs. Garibaldi's old Ford truck parked delete halfway up a driveway, its keys dangling from the ignition. "There!" She bolted, Mike stumbling after her. They scrambled inside, slamming the doors. Jenny jammed the key, twisted. The engine groaned but didn't catch. The dragging sound stopped abruptly. Silence. Then a wet, tearing crunch echoed from the truck bed above them. Mike whimpered. Jenny stomped the gas pedal, pleading, "Come on! Come on!" The engine roared to life. She slammed it into drive just as the rear window shattered inward. A hand, slick with something dark and viscous, reached through, grasping wildly. Not bone-white fingers this time. These were grayish-green, bloated, tipped with cracked black nails. They snatched at Jenny's hair. Mike screamed, grabbing a tire iron from the floor. He swung blindly behind Jenny's seat. A sickening thunk vibrated through the cab. The hand jerked back with a guttural shriek. Jenny floored it. The truck lurched forward, tires squealing. In the rearview mirror, illuminated by the truck's red taillights, the street wasn't empty anymore. Delete shapes shuffled out from between houses, silhouettes hunched and misshapen, some dragging limp sacks behind them. One turned its head slowly, catching the light. Its eyes reflected like dull marbles, set in a face slack and unnaturally pale. It opened its mouth impossibly wide, revealing rows of needle-thin teeth. No sound came out. Just that wide, hungry void. The truck sped past the town limit sign. Jenny's knuckles were white on the wheel. Mike panted, clutching the bloody tire iron. "We made it," he rasped. Ahead, the highway stretched empty under the moonless sky. Then the headlights flickered. Once. Twice. Died. The engine sputtered and choked into silence. They coasted to a stop in total darkness. The ammonia-burnt hair stench flooded the cab, thick as fog. From the woods lining the road, dry leaves rustled. Not wind, movement. Hundreds of slow, scraping footsteps converging. Jenny stared at Mike, the unspoken truth hanging between them. The candy run was over. They were the treats now. Something heavy slammed against the driver's side door. Thump. Metal dented inward. Then the passenger door. Thump. Like rotten meat hitting steel. Grayish-green fingers, cracked nails black with grime, pried at the window seam. Mike swung the tire iron again, cracking glass. A wet snarl answered. Jenny fumbled for the ignition key. The engine wouldn't turn over. Dead. The dragging sounds surrounded them now. Wet, rhythmic, relentless. Shadows shifted beyond the shattered rear window. Pale faces pressed against the glass, empty eyes reflecting nothing. Mouths hung slack, dripping dark fluid onto the truck bed. That wide, tooth-filled void Mike had seen in the rearview mirrored in every face. Jenny shoved Mike toward the driver's seat. "Your turn," she yelled, scrambling over him. She grabbed the tire iron, smashed the passenger window outward. Shards rained onto asphalt. Before the things could react, she wriggled through the gap, rolling onto the cold road. "Mike, now!" He lunged after her, catching his jeans on a jagged edge. Fabric tore. He tumbled free as grasping hands snatched at his ankles. Jenny hauled him up. They sprinted toward the tree line, not daring to look back. The forest swallowed them, branches whipping their faces. Behind, the dragging sounds quickened. Hungry. They burst into a small clearing. Moonlight bled through the canopy, illuminating a derelict gas station. Boards covered the windows. One pump lay toppled. The flickering neon sign read, CLSD. Hope flared sharp and desperate in Jenny's chest. Shelter. Maybe a phone. Mike stumbled. Breath ragged. "Inside," he gasped. "Before they..." The dragging sounds reached the edge of the trees. Wet. Insistent. Shapes shuffled into the moonlight. Grayish-green limbs, slack faces dripping. Those wide, silent mouths opening. Jenny slammed her shoulder against the boarded door. Rotted wood groaned. Mike added his weight. With a delete splintering crack, it gave way. They tumbled into darkness thick with dust and the overpowering stench of decay. Jenny scrambled up, fumbling for her phone. The weak beam cut through the gloom. Overturned shelves, spilled oil cans, a thick layer of grime. No phone booth. Just emptiness. Mike shoved a heavy metal shelving unit against the broken door frame. It screeched across concrete. "Barricade!" he choked out. Outside, the dragging sound stopped. Silence pressed in, heavier than the dark. Then it started. A soft, rhythmic tapping on the boards covering the windows. Tap, 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 like bony fingers drumming impatiently. Then another joined, and another. Soon it was a rain of taps, a dry, hollow drumming filling the small space. Jenny swept her light wildly across the room. The beam caught movement near the old service bay doors, a slumped figure in stained coveralls, its head lolling unnaturally to one side. Its gray-green hand lifted slowly, tapping a wrench against the concrete floor. Clink, clink, clink. In perfect time with the taps outside. Delete. Mike backed into Jenny, trembling. "They're waiting," he whispered. The tapping intensified, a frantic crescendo. Dust sifted down from the ceiling. Jenny's light flickered. Died. Utter blackness swallowed them. Only the tapping remained, impossibly loud now, vibrating through the floorboards. Close. So close. Jenny felt warm breath, sour and chemical, puff against her cheek in the dark. She froze. Something cold and slick brushed her wrist, not Mike's hand. Too long, too many joints. She jerked back, stifling a scream. The tapping stopped. The silence screamed louder. They weren't barricaded in. They were trapped. With it. The dragging sound started again. Inside the station. Slow. Wet. Coming closer. Jenny fumbled her phone, thumbing the dead screen uselessly. Mike whimpered beside her. The dragging paused inches away. Silence stretched, thick with the stench of decay. Then a wet, tearing crunch echoed right in front of them, like teeth snapping bone. Jenny choked back bile. Delete Mike scrambled sideways blindly, knocking over an oil can. It clattered across concrete. The dragging sound surged toward the noise. Jenny pressed herself flat against a cold metal shelf. Footsteps shuffled past her, heavy, uneven, dragging something soft and heavy. The ammonia-burnt hair smell choked her. She held her breath until spots danced in her vision. The dragging faded toward the boarded-up windows, stopped. Silence again. Heavy, waiting. Jenny risked a whisper. "Mike?" No answer. Only the faintest rustle near the service bay. Her heart hammered against her ribs. She crawled forward on hands and knees, grit scraping her palms. Her fingers brushed denim, Mike's leg. She grabbed it, pulling herself closer. He was curled tight, shaking. Relief flooded her. Then her hand touched something wet and sticky on his shoulder. Warm, not sweat. She recoiled. "Mike?" He moaned softly. Too softly. The dragging sound started again. Faster now. Purposeful.
Crazy Sea Stories. If you like these stories, subscribe for more.
Coming back. Jenny scrambled upright, dragging Mike with her. "Get up," she hissed. He stumbled, leaning heavily on her. The dragging quickened, closing in. Jenny shoved him toward the splintered doorway. "Go!" They burst through the gap into the clearing. Moonlight revealed the nightmare. Shapes shuffled from the trees, gray-green limbs glistening, slack faces dripping dark fluid. Their wide mouths gaped silently. Behind them, dragging from the station door, came the figure in coveralls. It hauled Mike's discarded skeleton mask, the plastic skull crushed and smeared with something dark. Its head lolled, empty eyes fixed on them. The dragging horde converged. Jenny pulled Mike toward the woods opposite the station. "Run!" she screamed. They plunged into the tangled undergrowth, branches whipping their faces. Behind them, the dragging sounds quickened. Hungry. Relentless. Closing in. The forest offered no escape, only deeper darkness. The candy run was over. They were the treats now. And the night was still young. Mike stumbled, gasping. My leg caught on the window. Jenny glanced back. His jeans were torn, dark with more than just grime. Blood soaked the fabric. His face was pale, eyes wide with terror and pain. She hauled him deeper into the thicket. Thorns ripped at their costumes. The witch hat was long gone. The dragging sounds surrounded them now. Wet, rhythmic, echoing through the trees. Impossible to tell direction. Ahead, moonlight glinted off something metallic. A chain-link fence, overgrown with vines. Beyond it, the skeletal outline of the old elementary school playground. Hope, thin and desperate. Shelter, maybe a way inside. Jenny shoved Mike toward the fence. "Climb!" She scrambled up first, vines tearing at her hands. The dragging sounds were everywhere. Shapes emerged from the trees, gray-green, dripping, mouths open wide. Mike struggled, his injured leg useless. He slipped halfway up. Jenny reached down, grabbing his jacket. "Pull!" she yelled. A cold, slick hand clamped onto Mike's ankle. He screamed. Jenny pulled harder. The rotting hand tore free with a sickening rip off fabric and flesh. Mike scrambled over the top, collapsing onto the asphalt playground. Jenny jumped down beside him. Behind the fence, the horde pressed against the chain link, gray fingers curling through the gaps, mouths working silently. They hadn't climbed. They hadn't needed to. They just waited. The playground was a graveyard of childhood. Rusted swings creaked in a non-existent wind. The slide tilted precariously. The school building loomed dark, windows boarded. The main doors hung slightly ajar. Jenny pulled Mike toward it. The dragging sounds started again, softer now, circling the fence perimeter. Hunting. Mike limped badly, leaning heavily on her. Inside, he rasped, blood dripping onto the asphalt. Lock the door. They pushed through the heavy doors into the stifling darkness of the school hallway. The stench of mildew and decay choked them. Jenny shoved the doors shut, fumbling for a lock. Nothing, just smooth metal. She spotted a heavy wooden janitor's cart nearby. "Help me!" Together they heaved it against the doors. It scraped across the floor, blocking the entrance. Silence pressed in, heavy, thick. Outside, the dragging sounds stopped. Only the faintest tap, tap, tap began on the boarded windows lining the hall. Slow. Patient. Like bony fingers drumming on glass. Waiting for the treats to come out. Jenny flicked her phone light on. The beam cut through dust motes dancing in the air. The hallway stretched into darkness. Lockers lining both walls, many hanging open. Papers littered the floor. A faded poster proclaimed Spirit Week, beside a crude drawing of a fanged pumpkin. Mike slumped against the cart, face gray. "My leg," he whispered. "It's bad." Jenny knelt. The tear in his jeans revealed deep gouges oozing dark blood. The flesh around the wounds looked grayish, tinged with green. The ammonia-burnt hair smell seemed stronger here, clinging to his skin. She ripped a strip from her witch skirt, tying it tightly above the wound. Mike hissed in pain. "We need help," he gasped. Jenny scanned the hallway. A sign glinted further down. "Office. Phones. Maybe." She hauled Mike up. "Lean on me. We're getting out of this." They shuffled forward, footsteps echoing unnaturally loud in the tomb-like silence. The tapping followed them, moving down the windows outside. The office door was unlocked. Inside, moonlight filtered through high, dirty windows. Desks lay overturned. Papers were scattered like confetti. The phone on the reception desk was smashed, receiver dangling. Jenny's hope flickered out. She lowered Mike into a rolling chair. He slumped forward, shivering violently. "Cold," he mumbled. His skin felt clammy, unnaturally cool. Jenny searched frantically. File cabinets, broken computers, nothing. Behind her, Mike started humming tunelessly, a distorted version of Monster Mash. Jenny froze. His head lolled. His eyes, when he lifted them, weren't quite focused. "They're not taking candy, Jenny," he slurred, a faint, wet rattle in his voice. "They're handing it out." He smiled. A slow, slack movement that didn't reach his vacant eyes. Outside, the tapping intensified, frantic now, insistent. Jenny backed away, her hand closing around the cold metal shaft of a fire extinguisher leaning against the wall. Mike pushed himself up from the chair. His injured leg buckled, but he didn't seem to notice. He shuffled forward, dragging the useless limb behind him with a soft, wet scrape on the linoleum. Scrush, scrush. His head tilted at an unnatural angle. "Trick or treat," he whispered, his voice thick, unfamiliar. Grayish-green veins pulsed faintly beneath his skin. His mouth opened wider than it should. Wider. Rows of needle-thin teeth glinted in the moonlight. Jenny raised the extinguisher. Mike lunged, a guttural snarl tearing from his throat. The tapping outside became a furious drumming. The candy run was over. Mike was the treat now, and Jenny was next. Jenny swung the extinguisher. It connected with Mike's shoulder with a sickening thunk. Bone cracked. He stumbled sideways, crashing into an overturned desk. Papers exploded into the air. His head lolled, vacant eyes fixing on her. That slack, hungry smile returned. He pushed himself up, ignoring the grotesque angle of his arm. Scourge. Scourge. He advanced again. Jenny backed toward the door, heart hammering against her ribs. The extinguisher felt impossibly heavy. Outside, the tapping crescendoed into frantic pounding. The boarded windows rattled. Dust sifted down from the ceiling. Something heavy slammed against the main doors down the hall. Whump. The janitor's cart scraped an inch. They were inside. Mike was inside. Jenny was trapped. She spotted it behind Mike. The fire alarm box mounted on the wall. Red, gleaming. A desperate gamble. Jenny feinted left, then dove right around Mike's shuffling form. His gray-green fingers snatched at her jacket, tearing fabric. She slammed the extinguisher nozzle first against the alarm's glass cover. It shattered. She ripped the lever down. A deafening, piercing shriek filled the office, the hallway, the entire rotting school. Jenny clapped her hands over her ears. Mike froze, head cocked like a confused dog. The pounding outside stopped abruptly. Silence. Then, a collective answering shriek rose from beyond the boarded windows. Raw, furious, and impossibly loud. The ammonia stench thickened, choking her. The alarm screamed on. Jenny looked at Mike. His vacant eyes flickered. Something like panic surfaced beneath the gray-green haze. Jenny, he rasped, the word thick and wet. Then the main doors exploded inward. Wood splintered. The janitor's cart flew across the hall. Shapes poured through the gap, gray-green, dripping, mouths wide and silent, dragging sacks, dragging themselves, dragging Jenny toward the void. Jenny dropped the extinguisher. She scrambled over the reception desk, kicking papers and broken plastic into Mike's path. He stumbled, falling hard. The horde flowed around him like a rotten river. Gray-green hands grasped at her ankles. She kicked wildly, her boot connecting with something yielding and cold. A wet snarl echoed inches away. She vaulted over the desk's far end, landing hard. The hallway stretched darkly ahead. The alarm's scream was a physical force. Lockers rattled. She sprinted past classrooms with boarded windows, the pounding footsteps and dragging sounds closing in behind her. Mike's voice rose above the din, distorted by the alarm. "Jenny, wait!" But it wasn't Mike. Not anymore. It was the hunger calling. The hallway ended at a T-junction. Left, the cafeteria. Right, the gymnasium doors. Both gaped open, pitch black. The stench of decay poured from both. The dragging sounds echoed from both directions. Trapped. The alarm screamed. The gray-green tide surged behind her. Jenny chose the gym. She plunged into the suffocating darkness. The heavy doors slammed shut behind her with a final echoing boom. The alarm muffled instantly. Silence. Thick. Absolute. Cold air prickled her skin. Moonlight filtered weakly through high, grimy windows, illuminating dust motes dancing above the vast, empty court. Something heavy shifted in the shadows near the bleachers. A low, wet scraping began. Slow. Patient. She wasn't alone. The candy run was over. Jenny was the last treat. And the feast was about to begin. Jenny pressed her back against the cold metal doors, lungs burning. The silence was worse than the alarm. It pressed in, heavy with the ammonia-burnt hair stench. She strained her eyes. Shapes coalesced in the gloom near the far wall, slumped, unmoving mounds draped in dusty tarps. Equipment? Or something else? The scraping sound came again, rhythmic, deliberate from the deep shadows beneath the home team bleachers. Metal on concrete, like a blade being dragged. Her phone light flickered weakly. She thumbed it on. The beam cut a trembling path across warped floorboards. Dust, cobwebs, empty space. Then it caught something pale and segmented near the bleacher's edge. A grayish finger, long and jointed, tapping slowly against a metal support beam. Clink, 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 exactly like the wrench in the gas station. Her breath hitched. The tapping stopped. A low, wet gurgle echoed through the cavernous space. From beneath the bleachers, 2 pinpricks of dull red light flickered on. Fixed on her. The scraping intensified faster now. Something heavy began dragging itself forward. Jenny scanned the court desperately. A fire exit sign glowed faintly across the gym. 50 yards of open floor. She ran. Her footsteps echoed like gunshots. The dragging sound surged behind her, wet and frantic. Shadows detached from the walls, shambling forms emerging from locker rooms and storage closets, mouths slack and dripping. She didn't look back. The red exit sign grew larger. 20 yards. 10. A gray-green hand shot out from beneath the bleachers, grasping at her ankle. She stumbled, sprawling forward onto the dusty court. Pain lanced through her knee. The dragging sound was right behind her now, accompanied by a guttural, wet breathing. She scrambled onto her hands and knees, crawling toward the exit. The heavy metal door handle felt icy. She slammed her shoulder against the bar. It didn't budge. Chained. From the outside. The ammonia stench washed over her. Warm breath puffed against the back of her neck. Jenny closed her eyes. The scraping stopped. Silence. Then, a wet, tearing crunch echoed right beside her ear. The feast had begun. The night was still young. Candy Run was finally over.
Crazy Sea Stories. If you like these stories, subscribe for more.